Right, it's your Geordie Journals. As you can tell, I'm by myself today. No Dom or Liam. Liam is jetting off to sunnier climates, and Dom is, well, on holiday but isn't abroad, but isn't here today. So yeah, it's just me left to this Eddie Howe post-match digest review, whatever. I'll give my thoughts on what I've just heard from Eddie Howe, and really, yeah, there's only one place to start, and that is Kieran Trippier's future. Reports this week suggesting that Trippier is open to leaving Newcastle, open to exploring other possibilities on the back of a week where he didn't start against Southampton. Team Livramento got the nod, and a captaincy change or a leadership group change where Bruno Guimaraes has been promoted to team captain. Jamal Lewis remains as club captain, but yeah, it says Trippier no longer with the armband, which for the 2.5 years Trippier has been here, he's often worn the armband in Jamal Lascelles' absence. But on that, yeah, the change Eddie Howe doesn't believe is a big deal. Faced quite a lot of questions on Trippier, as you'd expect, because of what's unfolded this week. In short, before I give my sort of thoughts on it, Eddie Howe wants Kieran Trippier to stay. As I say, doesn't believe the leadership change is a big deal. And yeah, on that as well, although Eddie Howe spoke really positive about Kieran Trippier and the situation and everything around Kieran Trippier, he did admit that there was a possibility he could leave. Didn't rule that out, as he didn't a few weeks ago here. And we spoke to Eddie Howe before the sellout weekend, and Kieran Trippier's future was back on the agenda then, and yeah, he couldn't rule out Trippier leaving then, and he didn't do it today either, on the back of all the noise. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, as you know, as regular watchers will know. Myself, Liam, Dom sat in Dom's backyard just at the back end of last season, and we spoke about the possibility of Kieran Trippier leaving this football club because of interest, and the interest our first got word back in February was actually Saudi Arabia. Now, of course, there's links to Everton, possibly other Premier League opportunities. The report from The Athletic yesterday claimed that Everton were open to sort of doing a loan deal. Kieran Trippier actually has 2 years left on his contract. It's not 1 year, as we all presumed. It was a clause that was automatically triggered last year, so it means his contract does actually expire in 2026 rather than 2025. So does that open the possibility of a loan move? Maybe, but I think dealing with the Kieran Trippier situation, for me, from a football point of view, it makes absolutely zero sense to lose Kieran Trippier this transfer window. Financially, I think it's a different question, because if you can get an okay fee for Kieran Trippier, of course, in the PSR world, that makes sense for a guy that turns 34 in September. But from a footballing point of view, I think Kieran Trippier has to stay, because you look at that right back situation, and as much as I really, really like Team Livramento, and you've probably seen my views on Twitter on this, I really like Team Livramento. I think Emil Kraft in the main is a good backup and a very dependable player in terms of being able to play at right back and centre back. But you've got a really strong right hand side there with Kieran Trippier and Team Livramento. To lose Kieran Trippier would significantly weaken that side, and look, that's not necessarily a starting spot that I mean by that. I just mean, of course, when Livramento plays, I've got a lot of confidence in Livramento, but it's the backup option. So Team Livramento for his career has obviously suffered that really bad ACL injury, came back from it. There was points last year where he picked up knocks, I think, with an ankle injury. So my biggest fear with losing Trippier would be if Livramento wasn't fit, he would have to play a run of games with Emil Kraft. And as I mentioned there, Emil Kraft is a really dependable lad, but I just think for a run of games, I think you run the risk of losing a lot of quality down that right hand side. And look, you can look at sort of your teams and you can go, I've got a backup option there, but think about the quality. Newcastle United want to push for Europe this year, and if they were to lose say a Livramento down that side for a sustained period, then I think it would be a difficult ask to go and challenge a European spot. So yeah, if both players remain, as I said, Trippier, and I'm case of repeating myself here, but I sat on this video last week and I believed Kieran Trippier should have started against Southampton. Now I understand the reasons why he didn't, because he's still catching up with his fitness, hence why he played at this very ground on Monday night against Sunderland under 21s. Still a bit behind in terms of his fitness because he was late back from the Euros, same as Anthony Gordon, who didn't look the sharpest on Saturday against Southampton. But when Kieran Trippier is fit and firing, he's Newcastle's first choice right back, shall I say, for me, because of what he gives you down that right hand side. Been so pivotal the way Newcastle United have played since he came to the club, from that battle and relegation to qualifying for the Champions League. Okay, look, last season was a difficult season for him. I think in the December time, I mean, if you want to look at it, probably the turning point maybe in Kieran Trippier's season last year was probably that Bournemouth game away from home, when he got in that altercation with a fan, when he was shouting at him saying how many injuries you got. You're seeing the frustration with Kieran Trippier that day, and probably from then he hasn't been at his optimum best. Of course, he had a difficult December with the mistakes against Everton and Spurs and whatever, but I think that's probably clouding people's judgment of how good Kieran Trippier is. And look, he's turns 34 in September, so maybe there is a case that he's slowing it down a little bit, but in the main he's a very, very good footballer and a very important footballer, and he gives you that quality down the right hand side in terms of that final ball into the box. And if I'm comparing the two, I think Livramento was a better athlete. Of course, you can get up and down really well with his pace, athleticism brilliant, but Team Livramento lacks that final ball in the final third. And look, that'll come. I believe that'll come with Team Livramento. He's only 21. Got a lot of room to develop, and I'm sure he will. He'll develop into a very, very good right back. He already is a very good right back, but he'll develop into a better right back. But whilst you've got Kieran Trippier at the club, I just think it makes sense to play him. And look, there may be a case, as I said, that Kieran Trippier wants to go and wants to explore other opportunities. And I think for everything I just said there, if the player wants to go, he's probably earned Newcastle United's blessing because of what he's done for the club. So if he really wants to go, I think Newcastle probably owe it to him to let him go. But as I say, from a total footballing point of view, and if you're looking at Newcastle United squad, Kieran Trippier has to stay. When time will tell if that will be the case. As I said, Eddie Howe in there couldn't rule out Kieran Trippier leaving. He did say it was business as usual this week. He said he was surprised by the stories, but I think that's maybe one to obviously keep an eye on between now and the end of the transfer window. It closes in a week's time now, and as I say, by what Eddie Howe said in there, as much as he wants to keep Kieran Trippier, he could be a departure. I hope he is. I hope he doesn't depart, because as I say, I think he's still got a lot to offer. For me, if he's fit, he still starts while Team Livramento continues to develop. But from a financial point of view, I do also get it because of PSR. In a PSR world, if there wasn't a PSR world, I wouldn't be considering letting Kieran Trippier go at all. But there is, and yeah, if Newcastle can feel they can make a bit of money off Trippier, who, as I say, is 34 later this year, then yes. But from a pure football point of view, it makes no sense to sell him, because it weakens the squad, in my opinion. So, staying on the topic of outgoings, one of my questions, I think I got about 5 words out of Eddie Howe today. If you've watched the press comments back on YouTube or the Newcastle United app, whatever you can watch on these days, but yeah, I don't think Eddie Howe was particularly open to answering my questions. Or they were very direct questions, so I can understand the short responses. But anyway, yes, I asked about the goalkeeping situation, which it probably seems like such a petty thing, but it really irked me a little bit last week. And I looked at the team sheet, and as much as the Odyssey's Vlachodimos move from Nottingham Forest was essentially PSR enforced, because of essentially it was a trade offer to Nottingham Forest to get Odyssey's Vlachodimos into the football club. But there's 5 goalkeepers there, and they've signed 2 this summer, Vlachodimos and John Ruddy, and neither are in the squad on Saturday. There was Team Livramento. Can he play in goal? It was Martin Dubravka on the bench, which, yeah, I was surprised by that, to be honest. I thought because of Vlachodimos and him coming in, I personally thought he would get promoted to the bench. but he wasn't. And yeah, it's the goalkeeping situation, for all the movement that has been this summer. I say movement, but they have brought in 2 new goalkeepers. They're left with the same goalkeeping pair that they had last season. So in terms of PSR and transfer priorities, they've almost in many ways kicked the can down the road in terms of the goalkeeping situation, where they're probably going to address it probably next summer now. But for now, yeah, they're left with very much the same, and which, yeah, for bringing in 2 goalkeepers, it's quite a bizarre situation, because they almost in many ways have just stood still. But anyway, as I said there, 5 goalkeepers in the squad. It's a lot. Yeah, Eddie Howe said there was just possibly, when I asked if one of the 5 goalkeepers could go, which, as I said there, there's John Ruddy, who won't. But there was talk of Odysseus Vlachodimos even on loan this week. I don't know how true that was. There was a report in, I think it was Belgium, about Anderlecht being interested. Where that's him, possibly, but I think it would be, you look at the to sign a goalkeeper on the summer for, on paper, would probably be a reasonable sum, and then to loan him out, you probably do bring attention to yourselves in terms of any Premier League review. But having said that as well, the Newcastle didn't break the rules. It was just what can we call it? It was a loophole in the rules, shall we say, for what Newcastle United done with Nottingham Forest to swap. Well, it wasn't a swap deal, but send Anderson to Nottingham Forest and then get Vlachodimos in return. So yeah, we'll wait and see on the goalkeeping situation. It could indeed be Martin Dubravka, who goes still as well. Obviously there was big talk of that when he was at the Euros with Slovakia. Celtic were interested, but obviously they went out to sign Kasper Schmeichel. Interest in the Middle East. There could be an opportunity somewhere in Europe that comes up with Dubravka in the final week of the transfer window, but as I say, we'll just have to wait and see on that. Another Jamal Lewis, who I asked about, situation remains the same as Tim. Could still leave the football club within the next week, but doesn't have a club lined up. I thought he might have been on the bench against Southampton, if I'm honest. I thought with Matt Targett having only just returned to training, I thought he might have been left out of the squad, and they might have handed an opportunity to Jamal Lewis just to sit on the bench. That didn't prove to be the case after doing all right in pre-season, actually. I think he came in and really done a job on the left-hand side for Newcastle. Allowed Eddie Howe to rotate the likes of Lewis Halls, etc. So I thought Jamal Lewis probably, as much as he's another future here, maybe earned a place on the bench, but him not being on the bench tells you that he probably will leave the club, and maybe a championship move, maybe overseas. We'll just have to wait and see. I'd imagine it will probably be more championship, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I can't believe I've got 30 minutes in this video and haven't mentioned incomings, so my apologies. The reason why I haven't mentioned that is because there's not a lot to update. Marc Guehi, is anyone tired of that yet? It's been a really long, drawn out negotiations with Crystal Palace over Marc Guehi. This has been going on the best part of 3 weeks now. It is tiring to report on. It's probably you guys tiring reading about it. So I'm just going to quickly touch upon the Marc Guehi situation. By the sounds of it, yeah, there's the sort of like edging closer to, or there's optimism that a deal will be agreed now. That was placed into doubt, I thought, on Wednesday night now, I think it was, maybe Thursday night, one of the two anyway, when Crystal Palace had agreed a fee with Fulham to sell Jochen Anderson to their London rivals. Now Steve Parish, in the many interviews he's done in the last week or so, or fortnight or so, said that he couldn't imagine a situation where they would lose both their centre half, which is Anderson and Guehi. But word quickly got back that the Anderson deal hasn't impacted the Marc Guehi negotiations, and yeah, there's an optimism that Newcastle can agree a fee with Marc Guehi. But as I sit here now, as I stand here now, recording at 11 o'clock on Friday morning, there's been no agreement, and that means, well, Emil Kraft was going to start centre half anyway, I think. But I think if Marc Guehi, say a deal was to be agreed now, whatever, he couldn't actually play because he needs to be registered by 12 o'clock on Friday ahead of the weekend matches. So yeah, centre half I'd imagine it'll be Emil Croft next to Dan Burn. Who knows? That Eddie Howe might go and play 2 left-footed centre-halves with Lloyd Kelly against his old club maybe. But yeah, I suspect that'll be the back 2. And just on the final outgoings, which I should have mentioned before I came on incomings, loans being looked at for the younger players. I imagine that includes like Jamie Miley's, Alex Murphy, who's just returned from injury. Actually, he was spotted back on the training pitch this week after I think about a month out with a back injury, and Joe White as well, who I think is still, has me tripod and he flies over there, I think is still injured, Joe White, but could get a loan move before the end of the window. And then Garan Qual as well, which seems a bit silly ass mountain when you're previewing sort of Premier League games, and Garan Qual is obviously not involved in Newcastle United's squad, but he did pick up an injury in pre-season, so it'll be interesting to see if he goes out on loan. I'll imagine he will, but it just depends how bad that knee injury was, because Eddie Howe mentioned in Tokyo that he had a knee injury, but haven't followed up on that since then, so maybe I'll try and sneak a question on Garan Qual at some point if anyone cares. So finally, so I mentioned there about the centre-halves. Yeah, the Fabian Schar appeal got turned down. Newcastle did appeal it. Eddie Howe confirmed that, but didn't give a lot away after. They said the club had appealed it, came back negative, asked for the written reasons as to why it came back negative. The club was still waiting from the FA as to why Fabian Schar is suspended, which I stuck. I've been over these thoughts. You know this last week. So it was a terrible decision by the referee. I mean, you had Graham Souness coming out in this week saying that Burton Diaz should be banned instead, and actually I agree with that, because it was, to be fair on his part, it was blatant cheating. The two have literally, and you can see this in the replays, have literally touched foreheads, and Burton Diaz has went down to holding his face, clutching his face as if had been headbutted, but of course he hadn't. So yeah, Fabian Schar out for the next 3 games. That includes Bournemouth on Sunday, Nottingham Forest in the Cup, and then Tottenham Hotspur. But who knows, maybe Fabian Schar might face a battle to get back in the team if Newcastle do indeed go out and sign their number 1 target, which is of course still Marc Guehi. Now there was obviously suggestions that they would be looking at alternatives. Edmund Tapsoba was mentioned by Leverkusen. Chalobah at Chelsea as the win really picks up here. I hope he can still hear us. And there was a few other I mentioned as well. Joe Gomez at Liverpool, but Marc Guehi has always remained the number 1 target, and yeah, hopefully they can get that deal over the line before next weekend. Other incomings, I'll imagine, will probably be dependent on sales. So if they get the marquee signing sort of Marc Guehi, then if that is who it is, and then any sort of incomings after that would probably have to be sort of a loan to buy, you suspect, or a player to be sold to then allow them to spend the funds that they need to go and strengthen, which of course would probably be a right winger, which we talked about last week, how that is for me, and Dom that mentioned is as much a priority as a centre half, but it didn't sound like they're going to quite do that this summer, unless I say there's movement or some business can be done where there's a loan to buy, similar to the Lewis Hall deal last year. I think that's it. I think I've got through everything there. I'm just checking my notes. I've see without Dom here. Ooh, there's a tripod. He flies over. Yeah, without Dom here, I'm having to make sure I've covered every base, and I think I have. So I hope. Well, it's been a windy one. It's been a waffling one. But I've tried my best for you guys. I could have won the car, and it would have been a lot more easier. But I want to give you guys some background, because no one likes to look at the back seat of a car, do you? So yeah, it's a lovely summer's day on Tyneside, but it's very, very windy. It's Storm Lillian it's called, which is actually due to finish now, which is I'm going to wrap up this video now. So thanks everyone for watching. See if you like what we do, maybe not like what I've done here, but if you like what we do as a threesome, please like, comment as well. We love responding to your comments and hearing your opinions. even when you disagree with it, we still like having debates with you guys. Everyone's got an opinion, you don't necessarily have to agree with each other, but it's always nice to do it in a respectable manner, and we feel like when you guys disagree, or when they disagree, it's just disagreements. It's there's nothing wrong with that. As I say, football opinions, everyone has one, they're not necessarily the same. So yeah, please like, comment, share as well, share this video around, as something goes in my eye there. Subscribe as well. I know there's a lot of you guys who watch these videos who maybe don't subscribe, and then as I say, you can ring the bell as well, because you ring the bell, you get all your latest Geordie Journos videos straight to your device. And please do check out our sponsor. I'll be in the top right corner, I believe. 4 of us, financial planning, proud sponsors of the Geordie Journos, all long form videos. Now they give you advice on any financial advice on pensions. So please do check them out. I know a couple of you guys have. It's always good for us and you guys do that. So yeah, please do check our sponsors out. And yeah, next time you'll see me, I'll be joined by Dom on the south coast. We're driving down on Saturday night. Staying over Saturday night, of course, and then covering the game at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then we'll be driving back to the northeast on the night time and in the early hours of Monday morning. So next time I'll see you, I'll be there at the Vitality Stadium, where yeah, hopefully Newcastle United can pick up another 3 points. I think it's a difficult game tomorrow. I think Bournemouth are a really, really good side. They were one of the informed teams at the back end of last season, so I think it's a really difficult game. Eddie Howe going back to his former club. Newcastle don't have a great record down there, especially on Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe hasn't actually beaten Bournemouth in the Premier League since taking charge of Newcastle United. I think it's 4 Premier League games. No wins, a couple of draws in there, a loss as well, which was one last year, as I mentioned earlier. The Kieran Trippier incident when Newcastle lost 2-0, I think it was, but it could have been anything that day. So hopefully it'll be a better performance and 3 points. So yep, cheers for watching guys, and we'll see you next time.